Welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Robertson, and today we try out the all-new 2013 Buick Verano. Now, the all-new Buick Verano was introduced a couple years back, and it was supposed to enter into the sophisticated luxury-like lineup. Now, I've always been a big fan of the Buick, and of course had a Buick Regal Coupe back in the 80s. Now, what I like about the Buick Verano is it's going to offer a lot of class-leading kind of technology that you wouldn't expect. And we'll take a closer look at that here in just a second. But first off, this model is the turbo model. Now the turbo right off the bat means this bad boy is going to get up and go. Now what was interesting, of course, on this one was what you see on the inside that was related to the turbo. Now other parts of the vehicle that you may not find typical in a family sedan is right here, the 6-speed manual. Now what is standard, of course, is a 6-speed automatic. My preference, as I prefer not to do the clutch dance as I'm trying to drive through traffic. Now in this turbo model, it adds a little bit of kick. And it might be the go-to for some people. For me, it required a little bit extra work, and the gear shifting, maybe not my big cup of tea. Now the first thing you'll notice when you're driving the Buick, especially with the 6-speed manual, is you have to obviously watch your gear shifts like you do on any other vehicle. Now what I prefer with the 6-speed automatic, of course, is that you don't do the whole clutch dance. Other than that, of course, you shift down, shift up, it's all smooth and easy. What I do find is that I get to 45 miles an hour fairly quickly, and that's typically only in about second or third gear. Now what I typically do is skip right to 5th or 6th and bypass 4th, as I really don't find it necessary. Now let's see what this bad boy can do from the stop. Now from the standstill, it's really easy to get this thing up and going. Put it in first, give it a couple of revs, and go. Now quickly, easy, hit second, third, and we're at 60 miles an hour. So you get there fast and easy. Now with any vehicle, of course, you want to know what's under the hood, and specifically this model comes with a turbo edition engine. So let's take a look and see what's going on. First thing you need to know is there's a little latch that's hard to find right about here. When you do lift it up, let's get 2 hands, a little heavy. Of course, you'll need to grab one of these bad boys to keep it open. Now it does have a lot of vertical, the hood does, but I'd rather have a little bit of hydraulic lift or something to help with the weight here. So now let's talk about the engine. Now the Verano comes with 2 power plants. This model is the 2.0 liter turbo edition, while you have the standard 2.4. Now both of them are inline 4 cylinders and offer a little bit of spunk, but this one's going to get up and go a lot quicker. Now the 2.4 liter engine is going to offer 180 horsepower and 171 foot-pounds of torque. Now if you pump up to the turbo, that's going to be around about 250 horsepower and 260 foot-pounds of torque. Now what I found that translates to is a lot of spunk off the line. Now the first thing you'll notice on the Verano is up front and center, and specifically this black chrome waterfall-like grille. Another interesting fact I found was on the headlamps, there's this kind of blue halo effect around the lamp itself. Now that all adds to the chrome appeal that you'll see throughout the vehicle on the outside, and it makes for a nice new kind of regal appearance on the Buick. Now continue with the exterior look, you'll notice that the Buick here, Verano, has a nice sloping roofline from front to back. It's got just enough chrome to give you pizzazz and sits typically on 18-inch wheels. Now what I like is there's just enough chrome. I don't like too much, and they have some portholes up here up front for a little more pizzazz. But overall it's got a nice sleek look, and it's not reminiscent of some older models I remember where the back end drops suddenly and gives you a kind of a fat rear end. Now one thing you'll notice also on the side is these little kind of port windows in the front and back. They add a little bit for the kind of blind spots you typically would have. Now one thing to prevent blind spots, of course, is the rear side sensors that tell you if there's a vehicle in the lane beside you. Another nice feature, of course, is proximity entry. That basically means you come up, press the button with the key in your pocket, and the door opens right up. Now one thing I did find kind of odd is at the back, so let's go check it out. Now at the back of the vehicle, of course, you'll find the trunk and the rear deck lid. Now what you'll typically find when you have a proximity entry vehicle where you can simply press a button and get in is back here at the trunk you'll find a little button that literally makes the vehicle trunk pop open. Now here I have searched high and low, and there is not one. That means when you're carrying groceries, you got to dig in your pocket, fumble with the key, and eventually pop it open with this. Not typical on a proximity entry-like vehicle. Now by the numbers, the Verano comes in average with the rest of the models in this competition lineup. Specifically, it's going to have almost 106-inch wheelbase with nearly 184 inches overall. Now that translated, of course, fine in the front seat for the front seat passenger and driver, as you had plenty of room to go to and fro. Now in the back seat, legroom drops to almost 8 inches, which usually translates to a little bit of knee bleed. But I found it to be modest, and it is technically a 2-seater in the front, 3-seater in the back. However, I did find a little bit squunched for, of course, for that center back seat passenger. Now one thing I noticed when I'm trying to get my comfort, of course, is you got the power controls. One thing that's missing on the power, though, if you notice, is it's missing the back seat alignment. That is a manual option, which is right here and kind of hard to get to. That allows you to move it forward and backward. Now in the back seat, like we talked about earlier, there's about an 8-inch drop from front to back seat. Now I've got the seat back about where I need it when I'm driving. So as you can see, when an adult's back here, it is somewhat cramped. Now you'll even find these kind of niches technically for your knee, but my tall stature is not going to fit in there. Now my kids, of course, back here, they fit fine. My center child right here complains just a hair. Now of course, if you're back here for just 2 people, you've got cup holders, nice armrests, so it's modest. The only thing I kind of would say is the front seat passengers do need to give a little to the back seat. Now once you climb inside, of course, that's where the driver gets the true rewards. Now the first thing I noticed when I got in this vehicle was, of course, I'm able to keep the key in my pocket because everything is a push button on this vehicle, no key to put in anywhere. Now what was odd was right here where typically you'll find a button or put the key in, it's not there. So then I went here, didn't see it. Then I had to scroll through all of these functions to finally find the stop start up here at the top. Very small button, surprising considering most of them are about a $50 like size button. So once you find that, of course, now you're ready to roll. Now if you're looking to adjust things as you're driving, it's real simple. It's right here. You can touch screen. Now the problem is some of the buttons are kind of low on the screen, and you've got to be able to kind of navigate up there to them. Of course, for simplicity, you can rest your hand on the shifter and simply push the button here. Real nice kind of dial touch kind of interface here, if you must say. Overall, the Buick Verano was a nice test drive. Had a lot of zip. Even though I did not like the 6-speed manual option, it does add the sport mode and kind of reminiscent of some BMW 3 Series I've driven in the past. Now even with the quirks, what I did like is the luxury. More specifically, heated seats, heated steering wheel, the blind spot safety feature, and a backup reverse camera for even better visibility. Overall price as tested was $32,000, and again that included the 6-speed manual transmission, navigation, and the power sunroof. Now I'd like to thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. So as always, keep both hands on the wheels and eyes straight ahead.